Does anyone remember the game Trouble? I think Raf's going to pop up a picture of the game just to remind you. The game is basically a board game with a bubble in the middle, and you pop it and the dice move around and you get a score. So what you have to do is get your little plastic beads from where you are right back around the board and into the right slots. Now, it's a really, really frustrating game if you get one of your pieces all the way around to nearly back to where you were from the starting spot, and then some competitor, to use a nice word, someone comes along and lands on you. What ends up happening? Does anyone remember the rules of Trouble? If someone lands on you, you have to go all the way back to the start. Now, I've mentioned this to a few of you this week because that's how things feel right at the minute. You just get some traction going, you just start opening things up, you just start getting your business back on track, you just start getting those initiatives at work or at school underway, and then COVID lands on you again and it all feels like it's going back to the start. So that's kind of the context we're in, and that's the discouraging thing for many of us, the environment that we find ourselves in. So this morning what I thought I'd do is read out a couple of verses that will be encouraging for us, and also give you a quick story. It's only going to take a few minutes, but I just wanted us to acknowledge where we're at and to draw on God's strength to be dealing with whatever it is we're dealing with. And for some of us, that is a simple case of frustration. Not that frustration is necessarily simple, it's sometimes complex, but for some of us it goes a lot deeper than that and can be a lot more difficult. And so literally we find ourselves in trouble. So wherever you are this morning, I hope that some of these verses and this story can be encouraging for you. So I'm going to start by reading out Psalm 46, and it goes like this. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, she will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." And another little verse that I really liked this morning was from Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a fortified tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. And I was thinking about some moments in this book. I haven't reread it, but I was pondering it this morning. I just ordered it online because I couldn't find it on my bookshelf. But if you haven't read The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom, and I know I've mentioned this before because it is an amazing book, but I wanted to read one small section out of it, and I won't be going anywhere too difficult this morning. I know we've got kids listening. But just to give you just the briefest backstory, Corrie and her sister Betsy, in this moment in the book, are in their second concentration camp. So we're talking Second World War, we're talking extreme persecution of not only Jewish people and annihilation of Jewish people, but also people who hid Jewish people, and that was Corrie and her sister. So they found themselves in a very, very difficult situation in Ravensbrück. It's a concentration camp. I won't explain their context, but it is needless to say, awful. They managed to sneak into this latest place they were staying a Bible and a liquid vitamin bottle. And that's a story in itself as to how they got those things in there. But she says this, another strange thing was happening. The vitamin bottle was continuing to produce drops. It scarcely seemed possible, so small a bottle, so many doses a day. Now, in addition to Betsy, a dozen others in our room were taking it. So they brought in this little vitamin bottle liquid, and it had a dropper on it. But because her sister was so giving, it wasn't just for them. They would share it around. My instinct was always to hoard it. Betsy was growing so very weak. But others were ill as well. It was hard to say no to eyes that burned with fever, hands that shook with chill. I tried to save it for the very weakest, but even these soon numbered 15, 20, 25. And still, every time I tilted the bottle, a drop appeared at the tip of the glass stopper. It just couldn't be. I held it up to the light, trying to see how much was left, but the dark brown glass was too thick to see through. There was a woman in the Bible, Betsy said, whose oil jar was never empty. She turned to it in the Book of Kings, the story of the poor widow at Zarephath who gave Elijah a room in her home. And the story is of the oil and the flour that doesn't run out. Well, says Corey, but wonderful things happened all through the Bible. It was one thing to believe that such things were possible thousands of years ago, another to have it happen now, to us, this very day. And yet it happened, this day and the next, until an awed little group of spectators stood around watching the drops fall onto the daily rations of bread. Many nights I lay awake in the shower of strawed dust from the mattress above, trying to fathom the marvel of supply lavished upon me. Maybe, I whispered to Betsy, only a molecule or two really gets through that little pinhole, and in the air it expands. I heard her soft laughter in the dark. Don't try too hard to explain it, Corey. Just accept it as a surprise from a Father who loves you. So wherever we find ourselves this morning, whether like Corey, but obviously hers was so extreme, whether life circumstances around you are extremely difficult, it's important to look for that little drop of something amazing that the Father gives us. In that story, we don't see all the surrounding circumstances improving, but this one thing, this one little thing, is what was providing hope in their very, very dark place. And so I would encourage us to be looking for those little drops that God provides us, those little miracles, those little things that we just can't really explain any other way. But not only that, but to be providing that for other people as well, to be looking for those places that we can pray, where we can give, where we can support and encourage other people, and be that little dropper for them. So let's be thinking about those things as we play our game of trouble, as we feel like we constantly have to go back to the start, or if our circumstances are even more difficult than that. Let's look for those little gifts that a Father who loves us provides for us.